I'm Muir Boda, candidate for Salisbury City Council in District 2 in the upcoming election on November 3rd, 2015.
I wanted to ask you, I've asked all the other candidates, what is your thought of the curfew? It's a hot topic right now in Salisbury. What are your views on it?
Well, I believe the issues surrounding the curfew go much deeper than what we're looking at the surface. I have attended every single forum on the curfew. I've been to several other meetings, one even held by the NAACP last week, and I've knocked on doors, and I've probably talked to hundreds of residents, listened to hundreds of people, and the consensus is some people are absolutely we have to have a curfew, and then the other half are, well, we don't think the curfew is the only answer because the underlying issues are much deeper. And you know, certainly I think a couple of things most people can agree on is that kids 13 and under shouldn't be out and about on the streets at 2 a.m. I think that's a common theme that everybody can agree on. Not that we think that an 8-year-old kid out at 2 a.m. is going to be committing a crime. You know, I'm more concerned about children of this age becoming victims, and I think that's part of the concern that we have. So my plan goes much broader, goes much deeper, and it can include a curfew. I think if we execute it right, we won't need a curfew. But I believe it's basically a three-pronged approach, and it requires a public-private partnership, long-term commitment to address the issues short-term and to address the issues long-term. First, I believe we need to use the model to some effect of the High Point Initiative. And what they did with the High Point Initiative and Chief Duncan, they used it last summer or a couple years ago in the Doverdale neighborhood when we had some rising issues and violence. They basically will build cases on individuals. They'll target them, and then they will sit down with them. They'll gather a bunch of resources from the community, church leaders, civic organizations, and basically it's the carrot and the stick method. You know, here we have a case. We could go to trial today, and you're gonna go away for 20, 30 years, and we're gonna try you as an adult. On the other side, we have some resources here. We can get you through high school. We can get you into college. We got some other resources, therapy and counseling to help you with whatever other issues. If parents have issues, hey, we've got some other resources for parenting skills and some other things that we can plug your child into. You know, and this is the avenue. These are your choices, and I think that's what we need to do now, because right now it's the issues with the juvenile crime in our city. It's probably anywhere between 30 and 60 kids that are, you know, alternating, roving groups of kids that are vandalizing vehicles, damaging homes, breaking into things. I think the same message needs to be to target these kids, use the same thing, and this is something that we just need to put this plan into place. And when we have these issues crop up like this is what we do. We build the cases, give them the choices, but long term we need to take some of these same partners, and you want to look, you know, with law enforcement, state's attorney's office, the health department, the child and family planning, which is your local management board, and civic organizations such as churches, NAACP, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. There's multiple organizations that have resources and activities for kids. You got the Salvation Army, you've got some others, and I believe we also need to partner with the Greater Salisbury Committee and the Community Foundation for raising funds for these kids and providing scholarships into some of these programs that actually cost money. So it's not necessarily that we're going to have to raise taxpayers' dollars to pay for this. We need to use private funding, because there are people in our community who are willing to put funds towards this to address this issue. And I think we have to coordinate all these people together. It's a long-term commitment. This is something that will take years, and it's something that even when we think the problem is fixed, we still have to continue to do it, because we've seen in the past when we end these programs, and there's no resources, we get back to the problem. So it's a long-term commitment. We have to have the support from the community and the Greater Salisbury Committee, the Community Foundation for the funding. Are there some grants that we could probably get for seed programs? Probably. But the issue is every time we get a grant for a seed program and we start it, the program ends, and nobody has the political will to find a way to continue the funding the program. So that's a broad approach that I think you have to involve the school system, you have to involve the county government, because it's not just a Salisbury issue. The crime, poverty, juvenile delinquency, addictions, they know no boundaries, and I think our strategy should have no boundaries. So we have to include all these partners into this process to address the problem, and I think it's not something we should do. It's not something, oh, it's a great idea. It's something that we have to do. We have to do this, because if we do not, we are going to lose a generation of children, and they're going to be the ones that, you know, they start out with the vandalism and breaking into cars, and then they move up to the shoplifting, and then they, you know, and then every time that they take another, it gets more violent, and then, you know, by the time these kids are 20, 21, they're involved in the drug trade, and they end up either getting murdered or murdering someone, or in a violent act that puts them away for 20, 30 years. So, you know, we don't want any child to go down that life. And so as a community, as a village, you know, the one person put it takes a village, and it does, and we have to do this as a community.
Following up on that question, what about crime in general throughout the city? What's your thought on the current crime problems that are happening within city limits?
Well, I think it's twofold. It depends on the area of the city where the crimes are occurring. Most of the crimes on the north side of town, probably about 60 to 70% of those are committed from people from lower Delaware, and what's driving that is the heroin addiction. I was in another store today, meeting with police and some investigators for something we were working on, and the officer had to leave in the middle of the meeting because they had an unresponsive person that they were administering CPR on. When they get there, he's laying in the middle of a parking lot and he's dead. They narc him, he comes back to life. He had OD'd on heroin, and they narked him, and they saved his life. But the issue with addictions, it's destroying families, and you know, most of these people, once they go run through their family, then they start stealing from businesses, which is stealing from the community. So, you know, the north side of town, that's what's driving our crime. It's burglaries in and around Salisbury of the homes and all that, some of that stuff. It's 90% of it is heroin addiction. And I think that's, you know, our governor has released some funds to Wicomico County to help us start addressing some of this. And I think it's, you know, in other parts of the city, there's other things that, you know, juvenile crime is certainly a large part of that. So there's I think there's some, again, we have to do, I think if we use the High Point Initiative from approaching and investigating those that are organizing the networks and the distribution in Salisbury, we need to target those, definitely. But from my experience and from what I do for a living, most of the heroin flows in from Delaware, Sussex County, and so that's, you know, I've talked to Attorney General Frosch, who's going to be communicating with the Attorney General of Delaware to, you know, see what they can do in Sussex County, because there's some issues in Sussex County that need to be addressed, and it's flowing over. It's not just what's happening here in Salisbury. It's happening in Denton. It's happening in Dorchester County. They're hitting, you know, stores and businesses outside of Delaware, and they're you know, those are issues that you know, we need our local law enforcement need to start working with those in Delaware. Like I said, crime knows no boundaries, and neither should our solutions.
How do you feel the downtown revitalization is going, and how do you support it? What do you think is going on down there?
Well, I mean, the greatest thing, like I've always said, is I was for downtown revitalization before it was cool. Ever since I've been in the public eye, that has been something that I've advocated for. I think it's important. We look at a lot of communities around the country who grew economically. They were able to they grow from the inside out, and having a core downtown that is vibrant, that's healthy, that has a great mix of businesses. You want a lot of local businesses down there, but you also need, one or two national chains, I believe, that would be as anchors. Companies like a Pottery Barn or a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods or something that could attract people down there on a regular basis. We have the library, which is one of the greatest attractions down there, and I think it's important that we we create an environment for entrepreneurism, and I think that's vitally important to the health of a city. Something that's unique, that represents Salisbury, and we use our assets that are down there, such as the river, and having some businesses along the river, such as restaurants and stuff. I think would create a with the entertainment that's coming along. I mean, we've got a lot of things. Every weekend there's something going on down there. Third Fridays have certainly been, I believe, Third Friday has been the savior of downtown. Just simply because it attracts so many people. At the last Third Friday, there's probably over 3,000 people there, and I mean, and that's month in and month out. It's just a great event that even if we didn't have a Salisbury Festival this year, the Third Friday, we got that festival atmosphere every month, and I think that's so great for the health of our city and the culture of our city. I think we need to continue to support that, and I think we need to plan 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road on how we can turn that atmosphere every weekend, and that's what First Saturdays are coming on, and that's starting to pick up, and it's got the same start that Third Friday had, and after a year or two, it's going to be an event that's just as successful.
What would you do to help bring businesses, entice them to come to Salisbury? As we know, we've lost a lot of manufacturing jobs. How would you like to help businesses make Salisbury their home?
Yeah, again, it's first off, one of the things, we have to be relentless on driving down our crime rate, because that's like one of the first things that they look at is the crime rate of an area. Secondly, one of the issues that is a little bit out of the purview of the city council, but is something that we have to, with our bully pulpit, advocate for, and that is strong partnerships with the county, the Board of Education, Warwick Community College, and Salisbury University, of creating some educational opportunities and training for people locally to support the up and coming industry at Wallops of the space age. That's here. It's real. It's happening. And so we need to train our people to be able to attract those companies that can come here and provide those types of jobs. And so with that, relationships I have established with legislators in Annapolis is to find ways to be able to make offers that those companies can't refuse when they want to come here and build something to create jobs. I think we have to have the flexibility to create an environment that is conducive to business, and that will attract them, that we can still protect our environment, we can still properly do things that don't overload our transit capacity, but I still think everything is doable, and we need these jobs, and we need to diversify our economy here. But it starts with reducing crime. It starts with creating the right educational programs in our education system so we can train our people to be qualified for these jobs. And then it's having the right plan economically with our relationships with our legislators to create, if it's special legislation specifically for Wicomico, you know, we've got legislators that can do that. And I think that's if we see an obstacle, we have to find a way to either remove it or go around it. And that's what we have them there for.
Is there anything in your district in particular that people should be aware of that maybe the other districts don't see? What's happening in your district right now?
Well, I think in District 2, one of the issues and that is vacancy, vacant homes. You know, just around the corner from me, there are 3 houses that are, I guess what you would say is they're owned by the Wicomico County Housing Authority, which a lot of the HUD homes have been turned it over to the local housing authorities. So they've been sitting there for years. And what's going on with them? You know, we have a lot of foreclosures. We have a lot of empty homes. So I'm, you know, the mayor and Council President Day, you know, they're working on some strategies to acquire some of these homes, to turn them over so that we can get people into these homes as homeowners. You know, I would say in my district, probably about 10 to 12% of the people in my district are actual homeowners. Everybody else is renters. And there's hundreds of vacant homes as well. So there's opportunities there with the vacant homes. I would, you know, I think as a city we need to come up with a plan to work with the housing authority that maybe we can start, Salisbury Neighborhood Housing can start taking some of these properties from the housing authority and then start moving people into home ownership. I think we need to, that's one thing that I would like to use some programs such as Homes for Heroes, where we can move disabled veterans, vets, police officers, firefighters, nurses, teachers. I've advocated for this every time I've run for office. So it's, you know, sell these homes to these individuals at a much lower price. You add to their contract for employment that they have to, number one, have to own the home for at least 5 years, and the entire time that they have it, that they have to live in the home. They can't rent it out. They can't flip it. It's, you know, it's something to, you know, our goal is to change the neighborhoods and remove these vacant homes and fill them up with good people who can meet the mortgage, who understand the other people who are at a point in their life, you know, that's what Salisbury, you know, that are ready to move into home ownership. Salisbury Neighborhood Housing is a great organization to help people prepare for that, and to learn about budgeting and credit and all of that stuff. And I think because that's part of the problem, people get into a home, realize that they can't afford it, or they don't know how to manage their money. And I think that some of those are those programs are really good to teach people that, so that, you know, hey, we can sell somebody a house, but if they can't manage their money, within a year they're going to be out because they don't pay the mortgage. So I think that's, we want to prevent that. We want people to be long-term homeowners and understand the benefits of good financial planning. So I think that's kind of the, you know, one of the big issues in District 2. It's just District 2 and District 1 are probably have the lowest percentage of home ownership, and when you compare to the other single-family home districts in the city.
For the people that are heading out to the polls to vote on Election Day in November, what would you like to say to them before they head in to vote? Well,
you know, let my experience, my established relationships work for you. I'm a member of the Salisbury Housing Board of Adjustments and Appeals. I was a vice chair of the recycling committee. I've been involved in other organizations. Of all the candidates, I'm probably the most versed in the issues. I believe in solutions, and let you know, if you agree with what I'm saying, if you like what I'm saying, you know, let my experience and work for you in City Hall. My email is muir@ Boda for Salisbury.com. That's BODAFORSALISBURY.com. And my phone number is 410-603-3347. Feel free to email me or call me anytime. That's my personal cell phone number. And I am here to serve you.